the idea of the speech act, which has been theorized by the Oxford philosopher J.L. Austin into what is known as the speech act theory. And that is what I'm going to talk about today. But then why are we talking about philosopher? This is a linguistic channel. As I mentioned, while we use language based on linguistic knowledge, there's also a lot of communication that is based on knowledge of the outside world. And also there is the fact that the speech act theory has received a lot of attention by linguists, because there are certain aspects of linguistic communication that can be very well explained by the speech act theory. Traditionally, the attitude towards language was based on three assumptions. That the basic sentence type is declarative, it's a statement or assertion. That the principal use of language is to describe states of affairs by using statements. That the meaning of utterances can be described in terms of their truth or falsity. Austin developed his speech act theory in a way in reaction to these assumptions about language, which he didn't agree with. Because Austin's idea was that language is far more than making declarative statements or making utterances that can be judged based on their truth or falsity. He made two important observations. The first is that not all sentences are statements, and then that much of conversation is made up of questions, exclamations, commands, and expressions of wishes. To explain this idea, let's look at the few sentences. Excuse me? Although it sounds like a question, it's more like maybe an objection. Are you serving? Hello? 6 pints of stout and a packet of peanuts, please. So obviously this is just a noun phrase, right? Give me the dry roasted ones. How much? Are you serious? O tempora, o mores. But it's a phrase from Cicero. O times, o customs. Now the question is, are these sentences descriptions? Are they declarative sentences or statements about facts? Can they even be judged whether to be either true or false? Obviously not. Even sentences that are in the declarative form in English, there are a lot of times that they're not making statements actually. I promise to take a taxi home. You might think you're making a statement, like you're making a statement of fact, but it's not a statement of fact. You see, a promise, when you make a promise, you're making a commitment about doing something in the future. So no fact has taken place yet. I bet you £5 that he gets breathalyzed. Again, I bet you. How is that like? It means I'm willing to bet you that amount of money on this particular thing. And that's not again as fact. I declare this meeting open. Again, you are performing a function. I warn you that legal action will ensue. Again, when you warn someone, in a way, are you making a statement or are you telling something about potential legal force that you're capable of using against that person or other people are capable of using that legal force? So in a way, in each of these sentences, instead of making a statement of fact, you're performing some sort of action. They are not the statements of fact. They are actually some sort of action which we perform using language. The point is, whatever the means of expressing the language is, what we are doing is performing a kind of action. That's why these are called performative utterances. For example, you can say, I hereby name this ship the Flying Dutchman. If you add the word hereby, and you see that the sentence still makes sense, it can clarify that it's a performative sentence. So when you think about the performative aspect of language, you need a theory to explain it, and that's what Austin did. He proposed the speech act theory to explain this aspect of language. So you see, the way this fits with pragmatics is kind of exciting. So he coined the term speech act, which have to do with the behavior of the speaker or hearer in communication. It's not an act of speech. It's a communicative activity. It's a locutionary act. Then in the next step, he categorized these statements. Directives, you can direct your listener to do something, command them. Commissive, you commit to do something, like I promise, I bet. Express, you express your feeling. So when you're expressing your feeling, you can't say somebody's feeling is true or false, or it's a statement. It's not a statement of fact. It's about your feelings. Or when you apologize, or when you sympathize, or welcome. And then there's verbs that we use to indicate these different kinds of speech act, which are called performative verbs. In other words, when you perform a speech act, you're expressing your intention in relation to different social functions. And in order for your speech act to come true, it has to meet certain conditions, which are called felicity conditions. We're saying that part of the meaning of an utterance is intended social function. Communication in language is more than acquiring the pronunciation and grammar. You see, it's talking about pragmatics. Asking questions, making suggestions. Obviously, every language has morphemes, intonations, sentence patterns, with which you can make questions, mark questions, wishes, orders, and the like. But communicating these functions may rely on knowledge of social conventions, which is, again, pragmatic knowledge outside language, and the local content of the utterance. It's the area where you coordinate your linguistic and non-linguistic knowledge. You put them in sync, you coordinate them to interpret intended meaning. Going back to the felicity conditions, just to clarify that, what do we mean actually when we say that? There are certain things that you can say in language, but in order for them to come true, you have to fulfill certain felicity conditions that have been deeply and highly institutionalized in society. For example, I declare you man and wife. I can say that to any two random people, but are they going to become husband and wife? It depends who I am. It depends on my position in society and our relationship.